Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the ways in which I use coding, programming in my work as an academic. And for me, it really boils down to three applications. One, develop a new package, like an entire R package, which is really like coding, being a programmer. And those packages obviously serve academic goals, but at that moment I'm a programmer. And I usually like to work in software like VS Code or the new positron editor by RStudio. I don't really like to work in RStudio when I'm developing a package. But when I'm doing statistical analysis as an academic, because that's what I am eventually, an academic, I'd prefer RStudio because it gives me a better view of the variables that I have available. It just feels more comfortable as a tool for data analysis, for doing those analysis that support your academic paper. But then what I personally have going for me is a third type of programming, which is basically when I'm taking notes or learning something new, I will often run across code online or write some of my own code. Um, and I want a way to keep all that code uh, accessible to myself. So basically, I want something like Notepad or Apple Notes or many of the other options, Notion people use to keep notes or keep track of their academic progress and ideas and meetings and all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to work with code. And so what I did is I developed a plugin for Obsidian. Obsidian is a really great note-taking software. It's very flexible. It allows people to develop plugins. And the plugin I developed is a plugin to run R code within Obsidian. So let me try and show you what that is. So you can find it on GitHub. This is the GitHub page. Doesn't really matter. I'll include a link below. And so this is Obsidian, right? So in Obsidian, your notes are on the left. You can put them in folders. Uh, and this is just an example. And what I've added is this R environment, and we'll see later there's a help page. But Obsidian also has like, the niceties you need for taking notes, like a calendar where if you make a note for today, it will appear in that dot in your calendar. And you can integrate entire like real calendars as well, but like this is just to get a sense of what it can do. So what my piece of software does, it allows you to run R code that's within a node. So if I were to click Control R on my Mac or Command R and Control R on Windows, this code will run. There's also like a button I built that will run the R code, right? So this R code doesn't print anything because we're just making three variables. Can also open a help page, just like you're used to in RStudio, right? And it can make plots, right? So we can run this. And it will actually take, like if we look closely, it will take chunks that are, just markdown, so backtick, backtick, backtick R, but it will also now take chunks that are like Quarto chunks or RStudio chunks, where there's like fenced R, and then these are options. And it will try to respect those options. We've made the variable R before, now we can run it, and it will output in screen, just like you're used to writing your Markdown document in RStudio, right? But the benefits are you're a note-taking software, so you can, this is searchable, you can link it to other notes using internal links, but I went a little further than this because this was just nice. But what I also want is sometimes my notes escalate from just a simple note to something I want to send to a collaborator, right? And so what I built in is more compatibility with Quarto. Look, so let's make a note, call it Ridian and Quarto. And just like a Quarto doc, you can start a Obsidian doc with front matter, right? So you can give it a title, hello. You can add a property like date, today, sure. Property, author. It auto completes these things because I've used those before, right? Property format. Well, let's say we want to export to PDF. Sure, why not? Right, and then we can make just some actual Quarto or Markdown, but I'm using Quarto today, code and actually export. Let's have a look. This is Quarto. Right, this looks familiar to like editing in RStudio or something. Hello, let's run some code. Now, I'm kind of lazy and I don't really, no, R code. Sorry, I'm switching between Dutch and English keyboards. right? And so let me just get some code from the other thing I have here. Let's say I've prepared something I want to plot, right? hmm Now, just like when I'm writing in our studio, I can just like, run this code now and it will output the results. But what if I want to share this with a collaborator, right? In our studio, I could like generate a document using Quarto. Well, I've implemented something where even though this output is not sort of our studio standard, right? Even though that's not what our studio or Quarto would expect, I've written a piece of code that actually takes your node, right? If it has front matter, even if it doesn't have front matter, it will generate generic front matter and it will actually send it to Quarto. And then in your Obsidian environment, right? Let's hit that button. I made it a print logo. I'm going to maybe make a better logo. And it says Ridian export node with Quarto. Quarto. I'm sorry. I keep messing those words up. Here we go. And it will run. Well, let's hope it runs, right? I don't know if it did. Let's see in the export folder. Yeah, it says rendering completely successful. Node exported rendered with Quarto. Oh, and then because I clicked the button a few times, it says failed, but let's assume it didn't. So here's actually a PDF document now in our exports folder in our Ridian or in our Obsidian folder. And look, this is a Quarto document. And even though like this kind of output, right? Or, sorry, let me open the right one. This kind of output is not what Quarto expects. My code strips that out, sends the entire document to Quarto, and then it's generated, right? And so it says, hello, Michel Nivar, I'm the author. That's all you specified. And today's date, because we specified in the front matter, date today. And it's a PDF because we specified PDF. And now you can send this PDF to other collaborators. So this is me trying to integrate Quarto into Obsidian. Now you have to bear with me. Currently, it will only run R code, right? So while you could make a Python chunk and Quarto is able to process Python, you cannot run the Python yet in Obsidian because I'm an R developer. I just know way more about R. So that's a thing for later. So in conclusion, I'm hoping to make are Markdown and Quarto available to those who want to keep notes of their academic work, who want to sometimes use code to develop a package and sometimes you use code to do statistical analysis, but very often code is just a thing you use to learn or a thing you want to remember, right? I very often get emails by people. I'm a geneticist, a behavior geneticist. I get emails by people saying, hey, you had code to simulate data, genetic data in families. Could you send me that code? And before I had this plugin, I'd have to search my entire entire Dropbox to find the right file for the right project. And then I had to refamiliarize with myself with the code because I'm sending some code to some other person. I need to document it. I need to make sure they understand what I'm doing. I need to make sure it runs, right? It still runs. Maybe updates have made it sort of no longer functional. And that just means that I slow down, right? So there are no tools available to me to keep code in a way where I can just directly run it. Not in production, right? Because I would never recommend someone use Obsidian, which is a note-taking app, to develop code for a paper or code for a package or code you need to actually use in any kind of production. But it's a great way to keep code and maybe some context. Like, this is a maximum likelihood estimator. You have some text, some ideas, and then you have the code for the estimator. And if you come back to it like in 3 years because you want to share with your student or like use it again, you can just rerun it. And because running code is one of the most efficient ways to like understand how it works. So you can change something and see if it, still will work. So anyway, I hope you liked it. I'll include a link to Ridian below. And let me know what kind of other extensions you want. Let me know what kind of like interests you and what kind of ways I can make it better. Thanks.